I was just outside in the park, just earthing, which is literally means taking your bare foot and putting it to the ground and laying like in like surrender pose, what I like to call it, or shavasana, as they say in yoga, in the grass, with my skull touching the grass, because I've been experiencing a little bit of head pain, tension headaches, and doing that really helps your head. It really helps the headache go completely away, relax your body, relax your muscles, and taking in some vitamin D. So after having done that, made myself some cup of tea. I love, if you've heard the puka teas, the puka tulsi, that's what I'm drinking, the 3 tulsi, and I'm ready to chat with you today. So as I was laying in the grass, I was just looking at the clouds going by, feeling the sun on my skin and the grass beneath my body. And the thing that came really strongly forward as I was just laying there and being present and with myself and focusing on my breath is that the only relationship that matters in your life is the relationship you have with yourself. And then the relationship you have with yourself sets the tone, sets the stage for all other relationships in your life. And that felt so strongly that I just wanted to share that message with you today and just riff on that, because as many of you know and have followed me, I have spent a lot of my energy and a lot of my, I guess, time focusing on building my relationship with myself, because I used to have suicidal depression. I used to hate myself. I used to have a terrible relationship with myself, and it was very crippling, and it was very unhealthy. It was very demotivating. It was very discouraging. And when I started walking on my spiritual path, that was what I call my divine storm, was my breaking point that really catapulted me into basically choosing life over choosing death, because I was suicidal and I chose life. And because I chose life, the thing that I promised myself was that I will do everything in my power to build a happy, healthy, holy relationship with myself. And that became the forefront of my mission. I guess my priority was to rebuild the relationship I have with myself. And we all have like a life theme that our soul chooses to go through and experience. And my particular theme is self-acceptance, which is very interesting because now I can look back in my life and see how everything in my life was leading me or teaching me about self-acceptance, how to accept myself as I am right now. And one of the things that has always been the hardest for me to do personally is to accept myself as I am. And so one of the things I tell myself, and you could say it's an affirmation, a mantra, a saying is, I am perfect as I am. And that really is just nourishing and supporting, because that makes me feel good. That makes me feel, okay, I don't have to be X, Y, Z. I don't have to be this in order for me to feel good about myself. And self-acceptance is all about accepting the totality of who you are right now, with your flaws, with your strengths, with your weaknesses, with your regrets, with your mistakes, with the past decisions you've made that didn't go well or did go well, with every single thing. It is the wholeness of you, and accepting that right now, and not holding yourself in a space of judgment with it, but coming to a space of acceptance with it, because with acceptance, you can then practice self-love. You can then practice self-compassion. You can then practice self-forgiveness. And I've made a whole video on my YouTube channel called The Key to Loving Yourself, where I dive deeply into how acceptance is the key to loving yourself, and I break it down. So if you want to go watch that, I'll put it in the comments, so go watch that. But as I was thinking about how the only relationship that matters in our life is the relationship we have with ourselves, I realized how that is so overlooked and how that is so not nurtured. I mean, how often do we actually take the time to nurture the relationship we have with ourselves? We nurture the relationships we have with other people and other animals, your dog, your cat, your pet, but how often do you take the time to nurture the relationship you have with yourself? And I don't mean by sitting down and watching Netflix or, giving yourself a manicure or pedicure. That's not what I mean. What I mean by is actually setting quality time aside to be in the presence of yourself, which is through your breath, through meditation, through journaling, through inquiry. I love to call it inquiry writing, which is Q&A writing, where you write a question at the top of the page and you just allow whatever is trying to come forth, and you open yourself up to receive guidance, to receive answers as to how you can better come into alignment. And I love that word alignment. You hear me say it all the time, and how you can come into more harmony with yourself. So how you relate to yourself is how you give other people the permission to relate to you. So a great example of this is take a notice and take into account with the relationships you have in your life. What are they like? Your relationship with your friends, your relationship with coworkers, your relationship with your parents. What is that relationship like? Does it bring you down? Does it uplift you? Does it trigger you? Does it soften you? Does it support you? What is that relationship like? Because everything is reflecting back to you the relationship you have with yourself. So if you have very critical people in your life, if you have very loving people in your life, if you have very, people who bring your mood down in your life, or if you have people who uplift you in your life, it's all reflecting back to you your relationship with yourself. Because what you are carrying vibrationally, energetically, frequency is what you're putting out, and that's what you're getting back. Like attracts like. So whatever energy you're holding is the energy you're asking to come back to you. It's like, think of yourself as a magnet. And if you're very critical, and if you have poor self-talk, you have poor self-image, you're constantly judging yourself, if you feel insecure about, yourself, you're gonna attract people who are gonna pick that up vibrationally, because that's what you're an energetic match to, and then you'll have people who will reflect that right back to you. Do yourself a favor and start reflecting back to yourself. What kind of relationships do I have in my life? And list it out, like at the top of your journal, write down, what kind of relationships do I have in my life? And how do these relationships make me feel, okay? And then write down how they make you feel, and really take into account how these relationships are making you feel. If they're making you feel good, that is reflecting back to you that you have a good relationship with yourself, or you have the capacity to have a good relationship with yourself. And if those relationships in your life are making you feel bad, it's reflecting back to you the relationship you have with yourself. Everything is a reflection. And the other day when I was meditating, I literally had my eyes closed, and the sentence or the message that came really strongly forth was, there's only just one being, one entity, one of you in the entire universe. You are your universe, Y-O-U-verse. And I saw myself, just me, and then everything else was just mirrors, all around me. There was nobody else, nothing else. It was just me, and everything that I was projecting was what I was perceiving back in the mirror. So if I was projecting, scarcity, I was perceiving scarcity. If I was projecting insecurity, I was perceiving insecurity. If I was projecting compassion, I was perceiving compassion. If you can think of yourself as a projector, and everything in your life is just reflecting back to you what you are projecting out. Therefore, what you are perceiving is a reflection of what you're projecting. Hope that makes sense. And A Course in Miracles has a line that says, projection makes perception. And I think that is so important for you to understand that you are the projector of your life. You are the one who's in charge of what you're perceiving. And so many of us just give our power away to things outside of us and think what we're perceiving is who we really are, when who we really are is the projector. You could think of your mind as a projector that's projecting things that you are perceiving based on your belief systems, based on the relationship you have with yourself, based on what you believe, based on anything and everything that you're holding on to. And the image and the way I like to explain this to people is when you're watching a movie, right? When you're at the movies, you're in the cinema hall, right? There's a projector back here, right? And you can see the little light coming out. If you look back, you'll see the little light that it's in a reel, right? And that is projecting onto the screen the image that you're looking at, right? That projection is you, is your mind, right? That's you, and what you're looking at is your life. So what is being projected is a reflection of what's going on within you. The dialogue, the story, the script that you have written for yourself is what then you are seeing on the big screen, and this big screen is called life. That's what you're perceiving. So if you're watching a horror scene in a movie, you know that someone's about to come and something is about to happen. It's what we do is we tend to continue to relive these scenarios over and over again in our life because we don't think that we have the power to change them. But you realize that the script, the storyline is in the projector, which is in your head. But you can go back and edit the script, edit the storyline, and when you do that, the scene changes, the perception changes, just like that. Everything in your life is a reflection of what's going on within you. And I emphasize this so much because if you can really get this, really understand that everything in my life is a reflection of me, is what's going on in me, then you are the most powerful person in your life. Then you have the capacity to change everything because you are the source of it all. And this is what I really, really help my coaching clients with, is help them realize that how they are the source of everything that is happening in their life, the good, the bad, the ugly. And I know it's very harsh to say that, but not until do you take responsibility for your life, everything, can you truly change it. Take responsibility for the good, the bad, the ugly. Somehow you are an active participant in everything that is happening in your life. And once you take responsibility, you're not a victim anymore. And you are then choosing to be the empowered creator, knowing that you are the projection maker. You are the image maker that creates the image that you see, which is reflected onto this external world called 3D reality, called life, called earthly existence, called the human experience, however you want to call it. But once you take responsibility for what you're projecting and truly understand why you're projecting what you're projecting, then you can change what you're perceiving. And how you do that is you understand the relationship you have with yourself and the script and the story you tell yourself day in and day out. And this story is told subconsciously. 95% of our life is lived subconsciously. Only 5% of our life is lived consciously. So what is all that 95% subconscious living that you're doing, which is a story, which is a script, which you have rehearsed for 50, 60 years, for 20, 40, 60 years, however old you are, you have rehearsed a script, which is the projection, which is the image, which then you are perceiving in your outer world. So who is the source of it all? Ding, 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 ding. You. And look how powerful that makes you. That gives you the power to change your freaking life. Right? Okay. Take a sip of tea. I hope what I shared with you is making sense to you. If it is, if this made sense to you and you're like, oh my God, Give this video a heart. Heart this video. So today's Sunday. Do a challenge this week, okay? I invite you to challenge yourself to start checking in with yourself by asking yourself the question, what kind of relationships do I have in my life? How do they make me feel? How does my life currently make me feel? Am I happy with how satisfied am I with my life? From a scale to 0 of 10, 0 being no satisfied, 10 being I am fucking satisfied with my life. From a scale of 0 to 10, how satisfied am I with my life? And then, am I willing to change my unsatisfaction of my life to fulfillment, to excitement, to satisfaction, to appreciation, whatever. But checking with yourself, how satisfied am I with my life? How is that making me feel? Am I willing to change it? Am I willing to do something differently? Am I willing to take charge? Am I willing to step up? Am I willing to take responsibility? Am I willing to change the script, to change the story, change the projection so I can perceive my life and myself differently, because I am the source of it all. I'm the image maker, and what I see is because I have created it. And this reminds me of another lesson from A Course in Miracles, which says, I am responsible for what I see. I am responsible for what I see. You are always responsible for what you see. And seeing is, it's that perception again. Perception. I am responsible for what I'm perceiving. If you're perceiving your life in an unsatisfactory way, it's because you have created it. You are responsible for what you're perceiving. And when you take responsibility, saying that I'm responsible for what I see, I'm responsible for the perception of what I'm experiencing, I'm responsible for the unsatisfaction of my life, then you have the power to change it. You have the power to change it. And that makes you aware that you are the projection, you are the image maker, you are the one who's in charge of everything you perceive. Everything you perceive. I love to use this analogy. One time I went to a grocery store and there were $40 just sitting on the floor, like right at the entrance of the grocery store in plain sight. About 50 people walked by this $40 and not a single person saw it. Not a single person saw it. There were $40 just sitting there at the entrance of the grocery store. And I walked up and I took them because there was no one there, and it was my money at that point, right? But the reason I share this example with you is that the reason those 50-some people didn't see those $40 sitting on the floor is because it wasn't in their perception. They were not perceiving it. What they were perceiving was scarcity or lack, or money's hard to get. They were perceiving the story about money that they were telling themselves. And that's why it was not available to them. But if you have a different script, a different story, you will see that you will experience that. Another analogy is like let's say you're driving down the road and you've gone down this path a bajillion times and taken this route a bajillion times, and then one day out of the blue you notice there's a coffee shop there, and you're like, oh my god, has this coffee shop always been there? Like, I've driven down this road so many times, but how come I've never noticed it? And you realize that that coffee shop has been there the whole entire time. And the reason you didn't see it is because you weren't looking for it. It wasn't in your awareness. And all of a sudden, something within you shifted, so all of a sudden it's in your awareness. Like, nothing is ever unavailable to us. The only reason it's unavailable to us because we block ourselves from it. We block ourselves from it by this limiting stories we tell ourselves, the self-defeating thoughts we have, the critical way of self-perceiving, all of that. But when you open yourself up and you just allow your perception to expand by changing the script, by changing the story, by tuning into more of your truth, of more of you, who you are, you start seeing things differently. You start noticing things that never were there before. You start attracting more money into your life, or you start experiencing more kind, loving people into your life, where you go to the grocery store and you have this loving exchange with the cashier and you're like, whoa, I've never had an excellent customer service experience. It's because you're opening yourself up to allow yourself to have more, because you're choosing to take responsibility for what you see, and you're choosing to change the story, change the script that you've been telling yourself for so many years. So this week I ask you to challenge a thought that you've held on to for so long. And this thought could be that, I can't run a 5K, or I can never go vegan, or I can't ask that girl out on the date, or, I can never write a blog post, or I can never make a video. What thought do you keep telling yourself over and over again that is limiting you? I challenge you to challenge your thought. And then when you challenge your thought, things are going to open up for you, where you'll realize that thought wasn't even, was the thing that was just blocking you from doing what you really wanted to do. It was just that was all in your head. Okay, I feel like I riffed on for long. I hope that this is making sense to you. Your turn. I want to hear from you, okay? So tell me in the comments below, what was one aha point, one takeaway you got from the message I shared with you today. Tell me that in the comments. I want to hear from you. And again, if you loved this Facebook Live, give it a heart, okay? I will be back tomorrow, day 5, for 21 days of Facebook Live. And other places you can find me is on my Instagram, which is Kajal_, for behind the scenes of my life through Insta stories. I love starting my morning with you and the Kirtan meditation video. Oh, thanks, Rachel. I'm so glad I could be part of your day. And I'm so happy to hear that that meditation is serving you. It is one of my favorite meditations. I'm personally not doing it right now, but that is my go-to meditation. Every single time I feel myself in a funk, every single time I want to clear limiting beliefs, cleanse my subconscious, realign to my energy, heighten my intuition, that is the meditation I go to. If anyone's watching me live and you have a question for me, go ahead and ask. I would love to share my insight, talk to you, interact with you. Tell me how your day's going. All right. What meditation do I do now, and will I do another video on it? To be honest, the only meditation I do right now is just a sit in silence with myself. I'll put a timer on for 20 or 30 minutes and I'll just connect with my breath and just sit in silence. I find that to be the most nurturing for myself right now, and the best way for me to connect with, source, God, universe, and myself, and really hear the voice of love. I'm not doing any Kundalini yoga meditations at the moment. The only thing that I do is my yoga practice, and my silent meditations, and my conscious stream of writing in the morning. So I'm not sure if you've heard of it. There's a book called The Artist Way, and it's called Morning Pages. So you just get up in the morning and you write 3 pages of conscious stream of writing, where you don't think about what you're going to write. You just allow whatever's trying to come forth through you to come forth. And it's really nice because you can see, we all have ways that our intuition or our higher self or the universe or God speaks to us. And for me, it's through my writing. So that is a way for me to connect to myself. And that is like a meditation practice for me, because it allows me to become really, really still with my thoughts and come from a place of non-judgment and see what's coming forth. So I'm keeping it really simple these days, not trying, because sometimes what happens in the past, what I would do is I would feel like I had to have a meditation practice, or I would have to have some kind of spiritual practice. And I just check in with myself and see what I need to do to connect with myself. And right now it just feels, just keeping it really simple, being in nature, silent meditation, journaling, and just more than anything, just being present with myself and being in that space of what Eckhart Tolle calls no mind, the gap. You know, when you are sitting in meditation, when you're sitting in meditation, all of a sudden you're in this space where there is no thought. I'm trying to just be in that space of stillness and not make meaning, not make reason of anything, and just allowing myself to just be the observer of everything and not trying to make it into a story, and just do what feels most supportive to me right now. Hope that makes sense. So if you're watching me live and you have any questions, please ask them. I'm here to answer them. I will be here every single day for 21 days, so lots of opportunities to just chit chat with me and connect with me and talk to me and let me talk to you and engage with you. Yeah. Awesome. I feel like I have nothing I want to say. It's just I got it all out of me today. It's been really fun doing these Facebook Lives because I haven't had anything planned what I want to talk about when I do them. And I just love using it as an opportunity just to see what comes forth and really just connect, you know. My intention with being on here live every day was just to create that space where, you know, we could all just connect and, you know, just hang out. This would be so much fun to do in person. Does anyone live in Boulder, Colorado? I would love to know, because if you do, oh my gosh, I would love to do like a meetup or something. That'd be so much fun. Okay, if you have any questions, ask them now, or I'm going to wrap it up here. I have new videos coming out this week. I'm going to film some videos tomorrow, so expect some new videos on my YouTube channel this week. If you're not subscribed to my newsletter, if you go to the top of the page, it says sign up. Click that. You'll receive a free ebook on 50 journaling prompts to ignite conversation with soul. And you'll receive freshly pressed love letters from me where I share intimate personal stories that I don't share anywhere else. So if that sounds like something you'd want to be part of, then join my newsletter tribe. I'd love to write to you. Writing is one of my favorite ways to express myself and to just share my thoughts and my stories with you, and hope that it can serve you, uplift you, inspire you, and change your perspective. I think my gift is to help people change the way they look at things, help people see things differently, help people change their perspective, shift their energy. And I really, really love doing that, because when you can shift something about yourself, when you can shift your perspective, it's the most life-changing thing in the world, because you realize that wow, like it was already within me. I did it. Like it was already in me. Like nothing outside of me is going to give me what I want, and all it requires is a shift in perception. You know, Course in Miracles calls it miracles, which are a shift in perception from fear to love, from crossing that line from living in fear, living in lack, living in scarcity, to living in love, living in light, living in truth. And I think my work, as I've honed it down over the years, is all about helping people shift from fear to love. And the way I like to say it is to help people live their truth, to come into harmony, to come into alignment. And one of the videos I'm making this week is called How to Stay Aligned, because that word aligned is so magnetic and so potent and so powerful. And the more we are living in alignment with who we are, the more tapped in we are, the more aware of our truth we are, the more aware of our power, our presence, our gifts, our purpose, our mission, what we came here to do, and the more of service we are to the planet. I mean, truly, we're all just here to be of service to the planet. That is the only reason we are here, to the planet, to the people, to the animals. However it is expressed through you, that is your mission, is to be of service. And it doesn't have to be this grandiose thing where, you know, you have a business or you go sign up for the Peace Corps. It can be done in your own way, every day, into your interactions. And, you know, the best way to do it is, how do you interact with the people in your life, at the grocery store, you know, at the coffee shop, with your friends? That is a good reflection of if you're living in harmony with yourself, or are you constantly triggered by things, and, you know, you sit down in meditation and you're like in this like peaceful place, but as soon as you step outside your house and someone cuts you off in traffic, you're going like, fuck. Like, that is a good reflection of how in tune you're becoming with yourself. It's like, you know, who says it? I think Panache Desai says that meditation is like, meditation is everywhere, is in everything. It's not something you just do in, you know, on your cushion with your eyes closed. It's something you do as you live your life. And you realize the more you're coming into harmony with yourself and coming into alignment with your divinity, with your truth, it just oozes out of you with everybody else. It's like you're smiling at a stranger for no reason. You're just like, because I want to smile at a stranger. You know, I read somewhere that your eyes are the way you connect with somebody's soul. And when you can look at somebody that you've never met in your life and you can look at them in the eye and just smile, you're connecting with their soul, and you're saying, my soul acknowledges your soul, and I recognize your truth and your divinity, and I reflect that back to you. Like, that's what a smile means to me. And I know it's very vulnerable to be walking down the street and just smile at a stranger, but try it. Like, really get out of your head and step into your heart and just smile at a stranger as an opportunity for you to recognize their truth. Their truth as the divine, their truth as love, their truth as light. And allow that to be reflected back to you. Because when you can recognize someone else's truth, their love, their light, their divinity, it's going to be a lot more easier for you to recognize your own truth, which is love, light, divinity, which is wholeness and completeness. I hope that makes sense. There's someone walking right across the window. Thank you, this beautiful, amazing big window, for the amazing light that's coming in. Oh, okay, if you have any more questions, ask them now. I will be back live tomorrow. I usually come around evening time, like 5 onwards. I'm in Mountain Standard Time, so plan accordingly. When I look into your eyes, I see 70 faces of God, a chant we do at the synagogue. That is really, really beautiful. You know, I don't know about you, but sometimes when I'm walking down the street, I look at people, and if I look into their eyes, it helps me feel really good. There's a sense of connection I get, and I realize that every single thing, person, living, tree, plant is a reflection of God. And when you can, you know, understand that in a knowing in your heart and not a concept in your head, there's so much more respect, and there's so much more appreciation, there's so much more openness when you're communicating with everybody, because you're like, oh, they're God, that's God, that's God. It's just like, it's exciting. It's like I'm God, and they're God, and this is God, and that's God, and that's God. And you just like this, there's this like unity there. There's this what's that word I'm looking for? Communion. There is this oneness. Yes, oneness that you experience, and you just it's the most expansive I've ever felt, is when I allow myself to go there and recognize that every soul, every tree, every bird, every cloud is just a reflection, is an embodiment, a physical manifestation of the divine, of God, of source, of love, whatever name you call it. It doesn't really matter what you call it. There's this deep oneness you experience, and this deep groundedness you experience within yourself, and it's just the most beautiful feeling. I remember one time I walked out to the lake. I was walking out onto a pier, and I was in Lake Michigan, and all I saw was, like, you know, the clouds. The sky meets the horizon. It's like this blue that continues. And I remember just looking at that and hearing the waves. It was a calm day. I just started crying, but it wasn't because I was sad. It was tears of joy, because I could feel the presence of God everywhere in that oneness. And I always tell people that if you've had that moment where you've experienced God and you've experienced that oneness, and it's so hard to describe. It's like an ecstasy of love that I've never felt before in my life, that I could not put into words. Like, I cannot tell you how it feels, because there are no words in the English language to describe what that feeling is like. And if you've ever had that in your life, hold that experience very dear to you, especially in those times where you feel despair, where you're discouraged, where you feel betrayed, hurt, anything that is, bringing you down. Hold that moment very, very powerfully in your awareness, because it really helps you to pull yourself out of it. And I've experienced that 4 times in my life. And when you do, it everything you've ever known, it kind of washes it all out, and you come into this place of true communion, true harmony with the divine, and your connection with the divine. That was a cool story. Does anyone else have cool stories like that? Share them with me. When have you experienced God, that oneness that I'm talking about, or like just an overwhelming amount of love that your body couldn't contain it? It was like just like oozing out of you. That's what it really felt like. My body could not contain it. Okay. Wherever you are in the world, have the day you want to have the night you want to have, and remember that you're loved, you're worthy, you're whole, you're complete, and you're so, so valuable. And I hope you have a blessed, beautiful week, and that something amazing happens to you this week. And check in with me and tell me what amazing thing happened with you this week, because that's my intention for you. Okay?